Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pinning with Pinata session of the Encode Filecoin Club series. Today, we're joined by Matt Ober, who is the co-founder and CTO of Pinata. So we'll be giving us a fantastic talk today all about utilizing Pinata, especially in the context of the upcoming Encode Filecoin Hackathon, which will be starting in, I think, about 4 weeks now. So getting very close. And yeah, this session is being recorded. It will be uploaded to YouTube. If you have any questions for Matt during the presentation, be sure to put them in the chat and we'll get to those. Do you want to take sessions kind of throughout the session, maybe stop at a few points or take them all at the end, Matt?
I can take them. Let's wait till the end. I'll lose my flow midway through. So I'll take it at the end here, and it should be pretty straightforward. I've buffered a little bit of time, so we should have some time for questions.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So any questions, be sure to put them in the chat and we'll get around to those at the end. But yeah, it's being recorded. So if there's anything you'd like to go back over, then you can do that tomorrow once that's uploaded. But yeah, for now, I'll let you go for it, Matt.
Awesome. Alrighty. So like George said, I am Matt Ober. This is Pinning with Pinata. So I am the CTO and co-founder of Pinata. We like to think of ourselves as the easiest way to use IPFS. At our core, we are an IPFS pinning service that runs IPFS infrastructure all over the world. And we started off as Ethereum developers that were building blockchain applications, and then we needed a way to handle all of this off-chain data that we were working with for our projects. And there wasn't really any good solution at the time. So we built kind of a prototype, what is now known as a pinning service, and thought to ourselves, hey, this could be pretty useful for other people. So we released that to the world as Pinata at the first ETH Berlin. And now here we are about, I think, 3 years later or so. So I want to start off by asking a question, and it's an important question that we want to make sure that people are thinking about in the context of IPFS and off-chain data. And that question is, who is responsible for the data on IPFS? With Ethereum, a minted NFT or other transaction on-chain exists forever once that gas fee is paid to put it on-chain. When a token or transaction happens between two addresses, the address doing that action pays to make it happen, but this is not true for IPFS. IPFS is at its core just a protocol, and it's not a blockchain. So when a token or transaction can happen on Ethereum without passing that responsibility of IPFS data to the next person, this begs the question, who is responsible for that data that is existing on IPFS? And whether this is the platform, whether it's the creator of that data, the buyer of an NFT, the seller of an NFT, there's a lot of different parties that could take responsibility for this data. But it's important that builders and creators in this space understand how those responsibilities should be defined so that we don't ever run into a situation where IPFS data is no longer accessible. This is one of the biggest friction points that we see with the over, I think, currently 45,000 devs we have building on Pinata, trying to figure out who's going to be responsible for that data and how they can let their users take control of that data. So I'm sure many of you are kind of aware of this, this process and flow, but for those of you that are new, the typical workflow that people are going to follow when they're working with IPFS off-chain data and then a blockchain like Ethereum is when they put data on chain, often this is done through something like, say, minting an NFT as a use case many people are currently familiar with. They are going to take a file and they are going to put it on IPFS. IPFS is going to return back a content identifier or a CID for short. And then this CID is deterministic. So that if you upload the same file to IPFS more than once, you're going to get back that same CID. And then in the reverse direction, this is the same as well. So at any point in time, if you want to ask the IPFS network for the content that relates to that CID, you're guaranteed to get back that same piece of content that was uploaded as long as it still exists on the network. So in the example we're showing here, let's say an application uploads a file to IPFS, we get a CID, and then that CID is put onto a blockchain. We'll use Ethereum as an example here. But IPFS is really blockchain agnostic, so it can work with any blockchain that you are wanting to build with. In the case here, that CID is put onto Ethereum, and then we have our user of an application. At any point in time, that user can grab that CID from the blockchain and say, hey, IPFS network, get me the content that was initially added that gave this, this CID. And then the IPFS network will go out and search, and will return that file back to the user, and guaranteeing that it was initially, or the same file that was initially uploaded. So, alrighty. This kind of looks like a little bit of different kind of flow between the various players in this ecosystem. Typically what this looks like is the application user is going to be on their laptop, home computer, and they're going to ask the application to get that content for them. That application will send that CID to typically a gateway. You can directly ask the IPFS network if you are running a local IPFS node on your machine. And there are some cool applications that let you do this, but the biggest use case is going to be running through something like an IPFS gateway. And a gateway is basically an IPFS node that lets a browser or any sort of application access the IPFS network without needing to run an IPFS node itself. So these gateways are kind of little portals into the IPFS network for the Web 2 applications that we are traditionally used to. Now, these gateways will ask the host nodes on the network for that file, they'll find it, and then they will retrieve it back to the application. The important thing to note here, though, is that you are not restricted to a single method of accessing content here. There's a lot of different, you can use different gateways. You can use, again, a local IPFS node. That's really where the decentralization of IPFS comes in. It's one way in, you get that CID, and then many ways out. So you can trust the data no matter where you're getting it from. So what do these host nodes look like behind the scenes? I'll use NFTs as an example here, as I'm sure it's one that many of you are going to be very familiar with. Now, these nodes may take the example of, like, say, an exchange of NFTs that is hosting that data for all of the NFT projects. Or it may take the case of an NFT creator. The NFT creator smartly utilized IPFS for their off-chain data, and they are hosting a node, making sure that content is available for their project. And then the third use case is a user-controlled node, where the user has basically said, I am going to host this content myself because I want to make sure that I am truly in control of my data. Now, not all is always well on the IPFS network and the web in general. Not all NFT exchanges are going to host data on IPFS. Many of them instead will cache the content on something like S3 and then just serve it from there. And then also exchanges provide no guarantee that they'll store this NFT content long-term. Storing this data forever is costly for them, and many of them have chosen to only temporarily cache it as long as the NFT project is still what they consider good standing. What they consider good standing may change over time. So this is really where we encourage our users to truly take control of their data. Similarly, the NFT project may shut down. The NFT creator may decide that it's too expensive to store this data long-term. We've seen this happen a few times already, especially in cases where you're working with NFT assets that are particularly large. When images and videos and the NFT boundaries are truly expanding to much bigger and bigger files, it becomes costlier for these projects to continue to maintain storing this data forever. And real life happens. It's not foolproof to rely on the original NFT creator to keep your NFTs online forever. A good example we like to use here is that Da Vinci isn't responsible for taking care of the Mona Lisa. He is dead. He has no stake in this anymore. So the Mona Lisa is currently being cared after by expert museum curators who have an incentive to keep the Mona Lisa in good standing. So a lot of people that are approaching this very smartly will take this into their own hands, and they will host content on their own, like I said, via a user-controlled node. So they'll download the content of the NFTs they buy, and they're going to host it on their own local laptop. The one downside here is that laptops are often shut off. They are typically not online 24/7. So if you have an NFT that other applications are relying on to being able to access that content, if all of the existing hosts of that content go offline, and then you shut your laptop off temporarily, that means your content is temporarily inaccessible. And if you don't run a user node, this could be potentially permanent in the catastrophic case that the exchange and the NFT creator go offline as well. So take control of your data. This is super important, and we really want to make sure that people are aware that when they are working in this space with off-chain data, especially with valuable assets like NFTs, to make sure that they have really taken control of their data and made sure that it is being stored somewhere that is safe. So this is where pinning services come into the picture. Pinning services provide a very reliable way to safekeep your IPFS data, such as your NFT assets. Pinning services are directly incentivized to keep your data online because we are being economically incentivized to do this. We take payment to make sure that your data stays online, which means that we are not going to just lose your data accidentally because it gets too expensive for us. So another thing is we provide always online IPFS storage. Pinning services such as Pinata, we operate dozens and dozens and dozens. It seems like it's approaching hundreds of nodes all around the world that are always online, keeping your IPFS data accessible from anywhere in the world. And then because we've been doing this for so long, we've been fortunate that we've gotten good at making this content retrieval fast. So while you can certainly host your own content, and we encourage people to do this on their own, chances are that if you also store that content on Pinata as like a speed retrieval layer, your applications that are using this NFT data are going to be able to get it a lot faster. And then the last point we really want to drive home here is ease of use. Our main goal is to make sure that not everybody has to be a DevOps engineer to make sure that their data stays available. It's not really feasible, and it doesn't really make sense for every single person that's working in the NFT space or the IPFS space or the DWeb space to be an expert at maintaining complex infrastructure. So we really strive to make this easy for our users, and we hope that you agree with us as well. So if you ever have any ideas for how to make things easier, please hit us up. We love feedback. Okay, so we talked about what happens if the nodes go offline. This is where the pinning service like Pinata comes into play. In our example earlier, when the application is requesting that CID from a gateway, that gateway then can ask the IPFS network for that content. And if one of those nodes is a Pinata node or any other pinning service node, we want to make sure that you guys know that there are lots of ways that you can store your content. That data will be accessible. It'll be available, and that file will go back to the application. Everything is going to just work. So I've talked a little bit about what pinning services like Pinata provide, and I want to go over a little bit what interfacing with Pinata looks like. So to start off with, you can come in and sign up, make this pretty easy. We like to very explicitly point to here's where you go. Just come to our homepage, pinata.cloud, and click try it for free. When we say free, we do provide 1 GB of storage that any of you can utilize for things like hackathon projects. And as long as you stay under this 1 GB of storage, you're never going to be charged. So feel free to play around and really experiment until you're ready to throw your project into production. So put in your email, your password, and let us know if whether you're a creator or a builder. This really lets us know kind of how we need to be targeting, what kind of features we need to be building. Helps us make Pinata better. We appreciate the feedback. So register, and once you've gotten your account and confirmed it, you can come in and start pinning some data. To start with, we throw you right onto your files page, your pin manager. Just click the upload button, select a file. And in the example here, we are going to upload a nice picture of a pinata. And you can provide a custom name if you want to, or we'll just automatically recognize the name for it. You can also upload folders if you want to. We do support this functionality as well. So upload your file, and then once it is done, you will notice it is going to appear in your pin manager. The first thing to notice here is that you'll get a CID back for your content. This is going to be your unique content identifier. This is typically what you're going to be putting on your blockchain projects when you want to reference this off-chain data. So pay careful attention to that. If you want to see what it looks like, make sure things are working correctly, come in, just click on your file here to the left, and it will take you to our public testing gateway to view that content. Yeah, works pretty well. So let's say you have some content that already exists on IPFS, and you want to get that content onto a pinning service such as Pinata. This is a great way to safeguard things that you have bought, such as NFTs that have data on IPFS. You can grab that CID from your NFT, and you can come into Pinata, and instead of uploading the file directly to us, you can click CID, and it will open you up a prompt. You can provide that CID for us and give it a name, and then you can click search and pin. And then what's going to happen here is that our network of IPFS nodes is going to go searching. We're going to go look all around the IPFS network to try and find the content that you have provided the CID for. And once we find it, that becomes part of your account. We've pinned it on our network of nodes, and your content is safely backed up onto Pinata for serving and for storage. So if we click on that again, you can see now we've successfully replicated this fun picture of a Pinata onto the Pinata platform. Alrighty. So a fun bonus here that I want to talk about is that you can check out the IPFS-desktop application. This is a really cool application you can download onto your computer that makes IPFS on your computer running locally very easy. It comes with a nice GUI that you can interact with, upload content from, kind of see how your node is connected to the rest of the network. And it's just a nice way to manage your files on IPFS from your local computer. But a bonus thing that recently came out in the past couple months is the ability to back up your content to a pinning service. So you can come in to your settings on your IPFS-desktop app, and you can click Add a Service. When you do this, it'll pop up a screen where you can choose a pinning service provider. And if you select Pinata, you can come in here and you can basically link your IPFS-desktop application to Pinata, so that everything you add on your local node will automatically be backed up in the cloud on Pinata's pinning service platform. So to do this, you'll just need an API key. You can access this from the APIs page on your Pinata account, and you'll put in this secret access token. If you guys kind of need a little bit more of a tutorial here, we do have some links that are provided here for you that should be pretty helpful for this process. Okay, take my drink of water here. Awesome. Alrighty. So another thing that Pinata specifically strives for, that we like to really Pinata has really strived to make better, and something we try to really differentiate ourselves from as a pinning service is we want to make sure that content retrieval is as seamless and easy to work with as possible. So something that you may notice on the public network, you're working with public gateways, is that you may run into things like rate limiting or slow content retrieval. This is it is a symptom of kind of a tragedy of the commons. So with public gateways, they are free to use, but that means that they're going to get a lot of traffic. And to protect themselves from basically going bankrupt, serving the entire network free content delivery, they are going to implement things such as slower retrieval and rate limiting. Like our public testing gateway that you have access to immediately when you sign up for Pinata is a good example of this. Basically, if you want good, fast retrieval, we recommend checking out our dedicated gateway offering. So with our dedicated gateways, works the exact same as a public gateway, but you can provide us that CID, and then you're going to get fast, unlimited content retrieval that can scale really as much as you need it to. And a big benefit of these dedicated gateways is that they are part of a caching network that exists in over 200 cities around the world. So as we pull your content from the IPFS network, we're going to cache it on our end. And that means that once it's pulled the first time, the next time it's pulled, it's going to be even faster. And the more it's pulled around the world, the faster that content is going to be delivered everywhere around the world. And we really mean it when we say that this can scale. So if you have an application that's working with hundreds of requests per second, we can support that. It's really scalable. So yeah, sign up for a dedicated gateway if you are looking for fast content retrieval in production. To do this, really, you can come in and click on the gateway page, and you can then create a gateway, and you can give it a custom subdomain. So when you start off with a dedicated gateway, you can come in and provide a custom subdomain that's going to be unique to your project. You can really name it whatever you want, as long as nobody else has claimed that. It's kind of like choosing a top level domain for your project. You can pick the domain as long as nobody else has taken it. So once you've got a domain that's free and that works for you, just click on next, and you will be presented with a choice of whether you want this gateway to be either restricted or open. This is something that we provide for our users, as we really want to make sure that people's dedicated gateways aren't being taken advantage of. So with a restricted gateway, we only allow content that you have pinned to your Pinata account to be pulled from it. You don't have to worry about your dedicated gateway being utilized to serve content that isn't yours and racking up bandwidth charges. That's not fair to you, so we give you the ability to prevent that. However, we also do give you the ability to open it up if you really want to. Some larger applications have chosen to do this for various use cases that are specific to them. So we do support both if you need it. So once you've created it, give it a few minutes, and once the DNS records have propagated around the world, your gateway should be ready to use, and you can use it just like any other IPFS gateway. Just provide it the CID, and the gateway will serve the content. Now, the last fun thing that I really want to talk about here is that you can add a custom domain to your dedicated gateway. This is functionality that we really want to encourage people to utilize. It's included at no extra cost and provides a great way to make sure that everything about your project, from the content to the way it's served, is all branded uniquely to you. And by utilizing this bring your own domain feature, we allow you to make sure that your gateway links aren't reliant on one single provider long-term. So while we love to serve our customers, we also believe that it's incredibly important to have the ability to take your project anywhere. This is super important to decentralization. And by utilizing this your own domain name feature for your gateway, you give your project the ability to move your gateway at any time to anywhere you want. Your project is truly mobile, just like the content that you are storing on IPFS. And this allows you to trust that content through CIDs. This ideal is something we really want to emphasize here. CIDs allow applications to and users to define, to transfer, and to share responsibility of their data globally. So by building your blockchain application and timestamping IPFS CIDs on chain, it creates a way for you and your users to trust your off-chain data with the same level of trust that you would expect from blockchain applications. And the beauty of IPFS means that at any point, you can take your data and move it somewhere else and know that it's still going to be served to the user in the same exact way. No matter what the gateway is, no matter what the IPFS node is, no matter the path, that data is going to be accessible in the same exact way because that CID is never going to change. And IPFS is always going to serve back the content that you initially uploaded when you request that CID. So lastly, we really try to make things easy. Pinata lets developers quickly start using IPFS through either our user interface or an easy to use API for the developers out there. We've been focused solely on making IPFS for nearly 3 years, and our entire mission is making IPFS as easy as possible to work with. Like I said before, we have a free tier of 1 GB of storage for people to help you get started. And we really try and strive for providing good customer service and fast feedback. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to stop by our Slack, send us an email, or even reach out to us through our chat interface on our website once you've signed up. Yeah, we really want to make sure that you guys are able to move as quickly as possible and create things that are going to change the game. So we are Pinata. I'll end this with happy pinning. Check us out at pinata.cloud. Whether you have questions on IPFS, pinning services, or Pinata, we're here to help. So with that, I will open up the floor to questions. I think we got about 12 of them here in the chat. So
yeah, there's definitely a few.
Through them. Okay. So Raphael asks, what is the best way to store data or store CIDs on a blockchain? The best data type in Solidity? Yeah, great question, Raphael. This is going to change a little bit from blockchain to blockchain. Different blockchains have different data types. Since you specifically mentioned Solidity, which is native to Ethereum, the best data type here is going to be a string. IPFS CIDs are a little bit longer than that bytes 32 format that Solidity provides. So you'll want to store that CID with the string variable type when working with Solidity specifically. So James asks, for the upcoming hackathon, what do you want to see being built with Pinata? What's the ideal hackathon project to utilize Pinata with? Ooh, okay, great question. A significant amount of projects utilizing Pinata will be kind of NFT based. So there's a lot of innovation potential there that we still see available. The current biggest thing right now is a lot of these avatar based projects, but we believe there's a lot more to NFTs than just that. So thinking about things like NFTs for access or permissioning, things that don't rely specifically on just like an image or art would be really cool to see. We really want to see how people can push the boundaries of NFTs. We still do love our art and our avatar projects. They've been great for the NFT space, but we love to see kind of people pushing the bounds. So yeah, really thinking about data and NFTs in more kind of I guess, newly thought about ways are always projects that we really get excited about. Okay, George asks, if you haven't, oh, whoops, that's not a question. Yeah, so Zach asks, is pricing correct at $150 a terabyte? And then asking why Pinata is more expensive than something like Amazon S3. That's a really good question. That's something we do get asked about a lot. To be kind of straightforward here, it costs us a lot more to store the data on IPFS than it costs Amazon to store something on like S3. Amazon's working at a big economy of scale. They are working with levels of data that kind of dwarf anything else on the planet. So therefore, they've been able to kind of scale those costs down. And as we continue to grow, we do aim to scale those costs down over time as well. But right now, the costs that you're seeing are fairly reflective of the cost it actually takes us to store that data and serve it to the IPFS network. There's a lot of very interesting things, such as data announcing DHT work, making sure that your content's accessible quickly and fast. Yeah, so to put it simply, it costs more because it costs us more. Maria asks, if we are going to use Pinata in the hackathon, is there any way we can get an allowance over 1 gigabyte, if possible, that we go over? Right now, unfortunately, we don't have this available. It's going to require some coding changes on our end. However, it is something that we are looking to add for future hackathons. We recognize that you're going to have some use cases that go over a gigabyte, so it is something we do have on our roadmap. Yeah, Tim asks if we are hiring. That's a great question. We are hiring. We are very aggressively hiring. So if we are currently looking for senior backend engineers is the biggest role we're looking to hire for. So if you are fitting that role, or if you know anybody else that fits that role, please, 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 please reach out to us. We would love to talk to you. Yeah, we would love to talk to you. So Raphael asks, can we upload files from the web application through the Pinata SDK or the API? Yes to all three of those. We do provide a user interface that you can utilize for directly uploading applications. It's pretty straightforward. You just click a button. It'll open up a little file explorer, and then you can upload the file to us. And then, yeah, you can utilize the SDK, the Node.js SDK that we have, or the API as well. All three of those are great ways to upload content to Pinata. Obviously, that SDK and the API are going to be a little bit more geared towards the developers of the crowd that need more automation and kind of scale. Okay. That looks like all the questions in the chat right now. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or reach out to us later via email, Slack. Like again, we're really always open to helping people out and try to be as responsive as we can. Provided we're not asleep, we'll usually get back to you pretty quickly.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Matt. That was a fantastic session. I'm sure there'll be people reaching out, especially during the hackathon, if they have any questions. And obviously, it'd be great to get someone from Pinata into the Encode Club Discord just to help out with any technical questions there. So I'll reach out about that as well. But yeah,
definitely do that.
Awesome.
I'll look forward to the invite.
But yeah, fantastic presentation. Thanks everyone for attending and for all the great questions. I'm just putting in the chat the link for the next event, as I saw a few more people join throughout, and I'll put next week's in there as well. But yeah, we have Building with Filecoin at exact same time next week, and then after that we'll be having a kind of session with Textile about storing data on Filecoin. So yeah, lots of cool sessions to come up, and then I think that brings us to almost the end of the education section, and then we will be moving on to the hackathon. So yeah, we're getting close to it, and so I'm excited to see what people end up building. As Matt said, probably loads of NFT projects, but I'm sure hopefully some kind of dynamic NFT stuff, and yeah, excited for it. But yeah, thanks everyone, and thanks especially to Matt. I hope to see you all next week.